It's the Small Business Rally Point for Tuesday, not Monday, Tuesday, April 26, 2020. I'm Pat Miller. I'm the Idea Coach. Thanks for tuning in today. This is our weekly conversation where we check in on the pulse of small business. We'll talk about a topic that matters to you, and then we'll open up the table for everyone to weigh in with what's on their mind, and we'll have a conversation about what matters to you as a small business owner. This broadcast is made possible through some great partnerships. Of course, the Brookfield Chamber of Commerce, Third Eye Local, Serendipity Labs, and the Brand Crafted Group, plus a big shout out to the newest group in small business, the Idea Collective. We'll talk more about what's happening with that new group of small business owners as we welcome in some of those members for the first time to the Small Business Rally Point later on in the call. Also, a big shout out to Jennifer Buchholz, who is the executive producer of the broadcast. She does a great job of running the show inside the chat and admitting people in and out and basically keeping me in line. So thank you to Jennifer from Excel and Flourish for doing the hard work so I can just sit here and talk the whole time. On the show today, we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk with a pro's pro, someone that knows how to do camera work, Katrina Cravy of Charisma Q. She's going to come on and talk to us a little bit about small business messaging, but a lot bit about looking great online when it comes to Zoom meetings. She's now exploding a business into this space. So we'll learn from her about how she's taken her experience in television and has converted it to help people with Zoom meetings and being more effective, especially when it comes to sales. We'll also do the roundtable portion of the Rally Point call where we will see what's on your mind. What have you seen lately that's maybe surprised you? How are you adapting to having the doors open again? And just how are you getting along with the concept of, okay, I got to wear a mask, or okay, that guy's not wearing a mask, or are we 6 feet apart, or all the other things that might be on your mind at this moment. That's what the Rally Point conversation is all about. We'll do that later on in the show. A couple of quick pieces of housekeeping. If you like the broadcast and you want to make sure you don't miss it, text the word BIZ to 414-240-1315. That number is 414-240-1315. Send the word BIZ. That will get you on the distribution list. So we will send you a text anytime that we do the broadcast, and that way you can tune in and catch what we're doing. So for many, the doors are open, and today, May 26th, was the day when the lockdown was supposed to end. With the Supreme Court ruling, it got a little foggy depending on which county that you lived in, but today was the day when it was all supposed to be over, and now we're all taking a breath and realizing, what does the future look like? Some counties have been open for about a week now. Others are just now getting underway. And it's pretty common when you see things on your Facebook feed right now of, I just ate out at a restaurant for the first time, or did something for the first time. There's still a little bit of novelty to it, and there's some adjustment to all of it. So we definitely want to dive into that later on in the call. Also, the weather has turned nice. And I know that that sounds weird to tie those two things together, but it certainly felt refreshing and invigorating. And at least for me, it gave me some positivity and some stuff to look forward to, because you know what? At least that was some sunshine, and it made me feel a little bit better. So things are looking up as we get ready to tackle the rest of 2020. But there are some things that aren't going to change anytime soon, and that includes, I think, the affinity and the necessity for having meetings over Zoom. So we wanted to reach out to someone that's doing something about it to make us more effective when it comes to Zoom meetings and to helping people do better when it comes to sales and relationships. Katrina Cravy, we know her from her years in TV and from being a business leader in the community, but she's opened a new company called Charisma Q. So Katrina, thanks for coming on the call. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. I want to say thanks to everybody who's here on the call. I love to see all your faces. I said if you show up on a Zoom call and you don't turn on the video, it's like walking into a room with a paper bag on your head at a conference room. And I actually shot that as a video, but I didn't cut holes in the paper bag. And I was just like, hey, as I walked into the wall. So I want to encourage everybody. I know that sometimes it's really hard to put your best face forward out there in this virtual world, but take the paper bag off your head and just go for it. It's going to be our new way for a long time, I think.
For some of us, having a paper bag over our head's an advantage, but I don't want to talk about myself too much. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on when it comes to connecting with people. Forever, you were on television and you were working kind of, I don't want to say the old media world, but you weren't doing this Zoom related teleconferencing stuff. Tell us about Charisma Q and how it came about.
Yeah, it's really spectacular because now all of this media training and being good on camera, all of us need to be better on, right? So Charisma Q was an idea that I had like a year and a half ago talking to a girlfriend of mine saying, I need to scale me. People want this kind of consulting. They want to be better on camera. They want to be more charismatic, but I got to think about how to do this. And so we had this plan in place about doing actual one-on-one coaching over video so that we could record it. People can look at themselves. We can do some real coaching. And then all of a sudden COVID hits, right? And we were right at the time that we were going to launch anyway. And it was like, hello, let's be really crazy and open up a business during a pandemic. And it has been the perfect right timing for people to go, yeah, my sales team is not looking very good in this new virtual world. Right? How do you set up your office and invite people in where you feel like you're giving them your best self on camera? So that was really how it all started. And it was just things fall into place. And now it's like, okay, this is taken off.
People hate being on camera, don't like their picture being taken. At least that's what they tell themselves. Are they just telling themselves that, or do they really feel uncomfortable when the camera is pointed at them?
There is something different about going on camera. Like if you're walking into a face-to-face meeting, you're not that worried. But suddenly you get in front of this little piece of plastic here and you feel like you're being recorded. All your, what we call your Zeke and your Zeldas, your naysayers get into your head and they start saying, I don't look good enough. I'm not this, I'm not that. And all of those things start to play into it. And so really my job is to help get you over that fear and take you point by point over that river of fear till you say, okay, I now can see that I'm getting better on camera and I'm getting over this. And that's really what we've been doing. And people have said, you know, this is a humbling experience, but now I'm energized. Like I had a woman who was like, I didn't want to do this at all. And now she keeps sending me her Facebook lives, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, you are killing this. I'm like, I can't even email you back. I need to actually call you to say what a great job you're doing. So I think it's just about them getting comfortable and you have to do it again and again.
So during our conversation with Katrina, if you have any questions, please feel free to hop in and we will put it into the chat and we'll make sure that we work you into the conversation. Katrina, how much of this is feeling like you look beautiful and how much of this is feeling comfortable on camera? Because don't you look better when you feel more natural?
You do, but you also feel better when you show up. I know that all of us have been in our sweatpants for a while. I know that all of us have probably been, you know, sitting on the couch eating Chinese food with our sweatpants on, and now suddenly like, oh my gosh, I have a call to do. And you may, what I call the mullet wear, you may be dressed on the top and not so much on the bottom, and that's fine. But you've got to, when you're on camera, feel good about yourself and to feel confident. And that is about putting that extra time into showing up. Even if it's only half of your body, you got to show up to have that confidence. And so that's what I really try to tell people. You don't have to look beautiful, but there are some tricks. I use a lot of tricks, trust me. Smoke and mirrors, a lot of TV tricks to help them look better on camera. Like for all of you, you might not even know about a setting in Zoom. If you go into the video settings, there's a thing that says touch up my appearance. If you hit that little button, it's right next to the video. If you click on the screen and you'll see the video camera, there's a little arrow. In that arrow, it says video settings, and then you can click on improve my appearance. Now it is subtle. There is just a little subtle difference, but it will take out some of the lines. And those kind of things that people go, oh my gosh, I didn't know that was even there. And it's just things like that. And then of course I have lights. I'm a really big advocate on light. It makes a huge difference in getting in front of a window so that that natural light can go on your face. If you're not going to buy a ring light, get that natural light coming in on you.
So let's talk a little bit about video conferencing. You said something earlier that it's here to stay. 3 months ago, if you were insisting on Zoom meetings, for a lot of people, you were that guy that demanded a Zoom meeting. Like, I remember it being a foreign concept of, can I just call you? I don't want to have a Zoom meeting. And then it's become so ingrained. Has the culture permanently shifted, do you believe, to meetings like this?
It permanently has shifted. I can tell you that Charisma Q, my co-founder, and I have done over a dozen meetings and talked to some very large companies, and 100% of them say, we are going to be changing the way we do things forever. We may still do some face-to-face eventually down the road, but some part of our sales process has now changed where we are going to ask for first meetings on Zoom. We're now realizing our sales reps, it's ridiculous for them to drive 3 hours when they could do a Zoom call, and you can get quite a bit of body language and up your likability by the fact that you are on video with someone. And I think that they've all recognized this is just something that we're going to have to do. We were talking, my co-founder has a friend who is in health sales, and she said, I won't even be able to go into a hospital until October, right? You just can't do it. So I'm going to have to learn how to do this well.
So especially with sales, it's know, like, and trust. And in a video like this, we can get a chance to really get to know each other better, much better than a phone call. So this is going to become a sales skill, and that's the foundation of your company. How do you help salespeople get better at this?
Well, we have what we call the art and science of charisma. We deal with the sales manager because we want to make sure that they have message alignment. And then we're looking at first impressions. How do they show up on camera? Do they have their own little, we call it the set, like how do you have your set? Then how do you have yourself? How do you dress? What do you put together? And then we have a live event that we do with 20 of the sales reps to talk about their script. A lot of people are paying big money for video bomb emails, right? So they're saying, okay, you guys have to put out these video emails. You have to do LinkedIn videos, and we want you reaching out and doing a lot more video. So you're going, yeah, but you never told me how to look good on it or what to do. So we've really seen us as a complement to some of these platforms that they're already paying for their people to use, but their people are not comfortable doing it. So we do the message alignment, first impressions, their delivery, their voice, and then we get into the art of it, which is your empathy, how much do you know about your audience, your confidence level, how do you look confident, and then your authenticity. I tell people, not everybody can be a Pat Miller. But you have to find your style, and you have to be okay with it. And once you're okay with yourself, other people are okay with you. But a lot of it is finding out what is your personal brand and how do you bring that on camera.
So we talked before we came on. Do you have a few nuggets that you can share with the group here today? You got to give us something good, because I can tell, first of all, before I go forward with that question, I've been around the TV station enough, even though I was in the radio side, I know a lot of TV talents, and you can just tell, this is just a Katrina compliment here. You are so good. I can just tell with all the meetings that I have had on Zoom lately, you're just such a professional. Like, it just oozes out of you. So you're extremely qualified.
Go on, Pat.
No, it's true.
On.
No, it's true. And you know how you can tell? You can tell, okay, tell me I'm not crazy. You know the doctor that's on CNN, the guy, Gupta?
Sanjay Gupta?
Yes. Yeah. The one that they've had on during the coronavirus coverage.
Right.
They'll have him on camera for minutes at a time where he doesn't say anything. And he's just kind of like, he's a doctor guy who's trying to do TV. He's not a TV guy that also plays a doctor. Like, you can tell a TV talent when they're on camera. There's just something about it. And seeing you do this, it's so effortlessly. It's like watching a fish swim. It's just, I don't know. I just got to give you props for that, because it's amazing to watch it.
Yeah.
You're in your element. But with all of that background and talent, tell us about how you help normal people like us look better on camera. Like, give us a few tips.
Well, okay, so looking better on camera, number one, if you can see anything in your ceiling right now, I say it's the ceiling fan brigade. Out of the 10, like last 10 group that I had come through, 3 of them I had their ceiling fan showing. Yeah. So you would never invite somebody into your office. Now I'm going to go up here close to my camera. and be like, here, let me show you my nose, right? You wouldn't do that. So you have to think about, okay, how am I going to put my set together and make sure that nothing in my ceiling is showing? Now, laptop cameras are not good for this because they're too low. It's just the way that it's set. So a free piece of advice would be stack books underneath it. Stack something. Get that thing up to eye level, or I even have mine an inch higher. And sometimes I say, like, you can always tell women my age when the pictures are being taken, it's like, let's get the camera high. It's the same thing on video. So make sure that that camera is high. And then the other thing is lighting. I think that's a really big key, is make sure that you have light coming in on your face. I've seen a lot of these Zoom calls when they have it in a group setting, or, you know, they have like a panel discussion. And you can tell the people that have taken some time to think about the set. There you go, Michael. I like your ring light. So, see, it's funny, like looking around the room now, I know there's some people that are like, dang, I am showing my nose hairs.
No, I always laugh because I forgot to buy the warm white, so I get like doctor's office white.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. I turned mine to like a little bit of a tan because I'm already so white on blue. So if any extra light, I would be really blue. But yeah, I think those investments, so there's a lot of free ways to do it, but some of the, getting a webcam that plugs in USB, that could be $30 or $40. This ring light's another like 30, 40 bucks. For under $100, you are going to show up broadcast quality, right? And why would it, you wouldn't ever invite somebody into your office in a dingy, dark room and say, walk this way. Like, you know, you wouldn't do that. So you have to show up.
What's your opinion on green screens or people using the green screen effect? You have such a nice set behind you. Is that a better look than putting a green screen up?
I think it's better if some of it's fun. I mean, Amanda, I like the fact I want to go to the beach with you. I think that would be great. Some of them are fun. Now, your background is good. You must have a green screen behind you, because I can usually see when it's all cut out and it's chroma keyed out, and I think that's a bad look. Like when you suddenly turn to the side and your cheek gets lost. Yeah. You don't want that. So I would say play with it, see if it's right. If you have branded gear for your company, if there is a banner or something that you can put behind you that's branded, or even in what you wear. I'm working with a lot of sales teams now. It's like, okay, think about putting your branding the entire time you're on the call with that client, because they may be getting 3 different bids and they may remember visually you because you came up with something different for your background, or you showed your company's logo.
This is great information, because this is a skill. If you get better at this, you're going to close more deals. I mean, you're going to drive people's revenue by helping them look better on camera. And when you were on TV before, did you ever think all of those hours in front of the camera would turn into a business like this?
No, I didn't, quite honestly. And really, I mean, I always think God gives you what you need every step of the way. And these last 3 years, I have been coaching CEOs on media, right? Getting better for media interviews. I even had one, we went to 60 Minutes together to be interviewed by Steve Kroc. All of these things that I have been teaching, now we're just teaching other coaches and how to do this on camera, which, you know, you're given what you need. And I'm just really blessed. I feel that this has been huge for us. And I love to see people get better on camera. And we tell the companies that we're working with, we have a shared ROI, right? My job is to really help you drive your revenue. And that's how we make money too. So we're in this together. It's a partnership. And it's been great. It's been really fun.
It's super valuable information, and thank you for sharing. Tell us how we can get in touch with Charisma Q, and if we're interested in learning more about a class, what can we do?
Well, the best thing to do is go to info@charismaQ, it's the letter Q, it's your scorecard that we give, .com. And if you want to email us, we can send you a link with what we have, our PDF right now on the 3 tips and what equipment that we're using to get this all together. So if you're looking at right now and going, wow, I want to have all that, we give you a list of where to go. And I got to warn people though, some of it's already sold out. So many people are doing these video calls now that equipment is really taken off. But info@charismaq.com, and we'll get you hooked up.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing this with us. Jennifer just put the link inside the chat for anybody that wants it. And this is just terrific information. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
No problem.
Katrina Cravy from Charisma Q, thank you so much. Let's move on to the next part of the call here. We're going to go into our small business Rally Point Roundtable. So the concept of the roundtable is you get to talk. We're going to ask some questions. We're going to have a conversation. Conversation means you're going to talk with us. So I'm going to throw out a few questions. And if you have any questions or things that you want to talk about, drop it into the chat. But the first thing that I'm going to start the conversation with, and if you would like to speak, put it in the chat, let us know, we'll unmute you. What are you seeing right now that's surprising you? That's the first question that I want to ask, because there are a lot of things that we're observing, either how people are behaving, how people are shopping, how people are engaging with you as a company. What are you seeing right now that is surprising you as far as our reaction to getting back to business? Because as of today, like I say before, the lockdown is over and we're all getting back to business in our own unique way. So what are you seeing right now that's surprising you? Bob, what are you seeing right now that's surprising you?
Okay, so one thing that I think is kind of cool and can be a little bit contentious is a lot of the companies that are opening up, the salons, the restaurants, and everything. If you look on the receipts, you're going to see a surcharge of a COVID-19 surcharge, where they're adding in an extra couple of dollars to help pay for sanitation and all the extra PPE and protective measures that they're going through.
Have you run into that personally yet, being out and about?
I have not personally. I actually saw it on Facebook. Someone posted a receipt from a restaurant where there was a COVID-19 surcharge.
Yeah.
And then I looked it up further from there, and yeah, it's happening all across the country.
So how would you feel about that if you went to a restaurant and like you didn't know it was coming and there was an extra 5% on your bill? Would you be cool with it?
Personally, if I didn't know it was coming, no, I wouldn't be cool with it.
No.
But if the waiter or
Yeah.
if someone came up front and was honest, or if there was just a sign that said, we have a COVID-19 surcharge.
Yeah.
Personally, for these restaurants and these small businesses that have been closed for the last 10 weeks and have had to take on all these extra expenses, I'd be totally understanding.
Yes. How does Pop-Tart feel about it? That's what I need to know. Is Pop-Tart cool with it?
Here, what do you think? She's cool with it if they're upfront about it.
Okay. There's a proxy vote for you. Great. Garrett, tell us your story about getting your haircut, because I saw you drop it into the chat. I'm sure this was a surprising incident that you witnessed.
I was just chatting with the nice lady who was chopping my hair and asked how one of the requirements was that I had to wear a mask to get my hair cut. And I said, is this a problem? Do you have any problems chopping the hair or anything? And she let me know that one of her clients in the past 4 days threw an absolute fit that he had to wear his mask inside of the salon, that they had to ask him to remove or to leave and not come back. So apparently not wearing a mask and political is more important than getting your hair cut.
Yeah, your hair looks great, by the way. I'm a hair connoisseur, in case you didn't know. I'm an expert when it comes to good-looking hair, and your hair looks fantastic. Thank you. Mark Bader, you say that you have one here, pal. What do you have to share?
It seems to me that people are more optimistic than, well, it surprises me, let's put it that way, because there's still way more question marks than there are answers. And I like the fact that people generally seem to be pretty optimistic about, things changing for the better after this. And so, overall, at least I don't see it among the people I'm communicating with. I don't see a real depressing mood. I see more of an uplifted, hey, let's get things rolling. And I don't mean get things rolling in a way that's uncontrolled and dangerous, but it's just that, people are patient and ready to move to the next thing.
And I wonder if that's because we're just desperate for it to be better, or we're actually seeing signs that it's getting better.
I think a little bit of both. I think people want it to get better, and being negative about it doesn't help. But it makes it easier to get into conversations with people. As Katrina said, going forward, this is going to be a primary way of communicating. It's way easier today to get people, I know, than 3 months ago, getting a hiring manager or getting a decision maker on a video call is like 50% easier than it was getting them on a phone call at the beginning of March.
Well, thanks for sharing. Jennifer Buchholz, you had something to share? What's on your mind?
So what was surprising to me is that I think people are assuming that everybody they know is like them. So I'm assuming that more people that I know are like me, and we're not going anywhere yet. Really, pretty much not. I'm not really going to public places other than grocery stores. I'm keeping it pretty close to home. And I've never thought I'd say I'm conservative about almost anything. But I'm also seeing the other side is that people who are venturing out, they're assuming that everyone they know are venturing out. And so I'm actually being invited to in-person meetings of groups. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not there yet. So I just feel like our temperature check, maybe our step back, or what I'm going to at least be more aware of for me is before saying, hey, we're going to meet in person, are we comfortable with this, or should we keep going online for a little bit longer? Like, I want to be more conscious about doing temperature checks rather than assuming people are thinking like I'm thinking.
It's interesting because we're in communication more often than we've ever been. I feel more connected to more people, but I don't know where they all stand, right? If I were to say this group is getting together in person, like we got 34 people together right now, we'd have 10 maybe that would show up. And I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying, you're right. I don't think we're there yet for in-person meetings. Don't you think? Yeah. Agreed.
Totally agree.
And so I had an example, and I think Michael put in there, like, what's the nice way that we can ask this? And my example was from Saturday night. We were playing poker online. Somebody else in this room might have been there in that. And somebody was saying, oh, they got invited to a friend's house for a game night. So it was literally just two couples, not a big party, but they're going to be sitting around playing board games. And about a half hour before they were ready to leave, they got a message saying, so BYOM, bring your own mask.
Mm-hmm.
And so we actually had a conversation about how do we put that out there. And it's just to say, like, we've decided that we're comfortable outside in settings with people up to this, and inside in settings with, and just kind of saying, like, this is how we're doing it. And so the simple question might be, how are you guys going out right now? Are you, and just start the conversation, because the thing is, what I say today could be different than what I say tomorrow or next week or whatever. So you can't hold me to this, because my decisions are going to continue to evolve.
Right. No, that's a really good point. Mark Shannon, can you share your story about the networking event you went to, the WCBA Roundtable? What happened there, and how did that make you feel?
So it was a get connected thing with a bunch of other people from sales type professions and that sort of thing. And Tom Casanova, who's one of the engagement directors for the WCBA, brought up, hey, we're trying to gauge when we should start thinking about doing a networking event again. And there were so many people. I think I was the only one who said, well, I might show up if I'm wearing a mask and everyone else is, right? And everybody looked at me like I had blue hair or something. I don't know, like I was the strange one. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm in a different place than you are. But it was really interesting, and I said, if I'm going to go to a client's location, I'm bringing a mask. And some of them were like, well, I don't want to wear a mask. And I'm thinking, look, regardless of what your views are, my personal opinion is a surgeon wears a mask to protect you from their germs, and I don't want to make a client or a customer sick. And I kind of view the same thing for everything else. And I'm always surprised when I hear the stories about, like, oh yeah, the CO2 is going to build up in your mask if you wear a mask all day or something like that. And I'm thinking, does a surgeon ever get tremors when they're doing surgery? There's a lot of people who I feel like there's misinformation going both ways, like people scaremongering, and then people who are like acting like, it was all just a bad dream and it's gone away. I don't understand it.
I had an in-person interaction last week where I was the only one wearing a mask, and they all kind of looked at me like, you chicken, right? It's a guy, don't you think? As the one guy that was concerned about it, don't you feel like they were judging you for being a chicken because of it?
Yeah, probably a little bit, but like, you don't know people's personal predicament. That's the thing. Like, so there's this whole act with empathy thing and all the rest of it, right? My daughter's had pneumonia twice this winter. So like my pediatrician for her is saying she's at risk. So I'm like, okay, well, daughter's more important than social networking. Sorry. Like, that's just, and I'm sure there are other people that are in a very similar boat. There's one person I know who had a severe respiratory problem in like 2013, and she's a very big networker and whatever, and like she's not able to do anything either. So yeah, I think a lot of people just need to understand, like when it comes to personal health, like and family health, people probably are going to prioritize that, and you just got to be understanding in this environment.
Okay, so let's transition just for a second because I got to get something off my chest. I have muted more people on Facebook in the last 2 weeks than the elections, than anything. And you know what's funny is I'm muting people on both sides. Like there's one group of people that's driving me crazy because of this, and one group of people that are driving me crazy. I just want, seriously, just everybody take a breath. It's like, it's too much. I love you guys, but no one on this call is muted, except for Michael, but everybody else is good. Trust me. Everybody else is fine. That's interesting. Interesting to me that it's been this political. And something else that I think is interesting is what will have to be said for us to know, like, okay, you don't have to wear a mask anymore. Like, who will say it's okay to not wear a mask? I don't know that answer. And you know, the other thing, while I'm on the soapbox, if you said to me right now, go find the information that you need, I seriously, I don't know where to go. I'm cobbling together like 4 or 5 websites. They're all saying different things. So it's pretty frustrating. I wonder, what are you doing right now? Is anyone going without a mask right now? I'd love to know who's going without a mask and why. And it's not like a gotcha thing. I'm just curious what the thought process is, because, you know, hey, it's fine if that's what you're doing, but I'm curious if anyone's like really, oh, well, Jennifer's outside without a mask. Of course. No judging. That's right, Michael. We are sharing and we're learning together. Sandra's husband will not wear a mask. Okay, Sandra, let's bring you on because I want to hear what his thought process is. And again, not judgy pants, just curious. What is he saying the reason why he doesn't want to?
He doesn't think, if he gets it, he's okay if he gets it because he doesn't think he will get, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about it, and he just wants to go on with life.
Right.
And he actually went back to work today. He didn't have to go back for another month, and he goes, I don't want to be out. I'm not wearing a mask. So he just refuses. And I've been sick. I have bronchitis, so I've been wearing a mask. And I think I still would even if I didn't have that. But yeah, he will not wear a mask.
And has he been called on it, or had people look at him weird when he's out in public without it?
I don't think he cares. Honestly, I don't.
Yeah, whatever. Sit on it, Potsy, right?
Yeah, and I mean, he goes and he does most of the shopping because he does most of the cooking. So he does all the grocery shopping and Home Depot, and he says, because I ask, and he just says, not everybody's wearing masks, and I don't think he even notices if somebody even cares.
I mean, just the anecdata, I would say it's probably 50-50 when you go out, like who's wearing a mask and who isn't. Yeah. Sometimes I see families of 4 out, right? And none of them are wearing a mask. And it's like, okay, well, like, I get it, right? Like, I want this to be over too, but. Yeah, interesting. Jennifer, can you share your strategy here real quick? Because I think that's a pretty good way to look at this, or at least it seems like it's going to be a popular way of looking at this, your strategy for getting back to life.
Yep, I was just thinking like June 8th is my next cutoff. It's the after Memorial Day weekend, whatever surge might have happened with all the levels of interaction. I'm going to watch the numbers, and within that 14-day-ish period after June 8th, seeing what we see, then I'll make my next decision from there. But again, it's like a phased approach.
Yeah.
And Jennifer, to add to that, I think it's a 14-day for whatever you're exposed to, right? Whatever you're doing in your life. I've been doing that throughout. Okay, it's been 14 days since that thing, since I went to that store, or my son did this. I'm kind of using my own 14-day for that.
Yeah, that's good point. Let's bring Jennifer Rundell in for a second. Jennifer, are you still here with us? Because I want to hear what you're up to, because you're specifically addressing people getting back to work and how they're reopening. How is that going, and what are you doing?
So Rundell Redesign is working with small business owners to help them prepare for the opening. So what we're doing is we're offering what we're calling safe social distance staging. So what does that mean? It means in your lobby, are your chairs at least 6 feet apart? When a client comes in, are you 6 feet from them when you're having a conversation? And some of it is real simple things, like taking a look at, I worked with Stories Frame Photography, and we took a look at their conference room table. Okay, Abby can't sit across from them the short way, but if you sit on a diagonal, the long way, boom, that's 6 feet. So we're taking a look at social distance staging, some type of branded PPE products. I'm working with Nikki Woodick and getting some of that set up. So it is interesting. Some businesses kind of don't care. They just open, they're like, oh, we're open for business. And other businesses are like, oh, I didn't think about that. And I think because the opening happened before people thought it was gonna happen, they were like, oh, we better quick open our doors. And now they're trying to catch up. And some of it's really small changes that they can make and simple things. But it's all about, to me, it's all about how are you making your client more comfortable? Because if you walk into a store, I mean, I find now when I'm going someplace and somebody doesn't have a mask on, I'm like the truck that's going beep, beep, beep. I find myself stepping away from them. I feel terrible. I don't even realize I'm doing it, but it's like, oh, you're standing. And then I hear the song, of course, Don't Stand So Close to Me is running through my head. And I think other people feel the same way. So throw a mask on, you know, have masks available, but there's lots of different ways to make people feel safer and be safer. I mean, if we're going to open the doors, let's do it the right way, because I think it's going to be a long time before there's a vaccine.
Yeah, I appreciate that. For what it's worth, I've been wearing a mask in client interactions, using it just as a sign of professional courtesy. And if for some reason they say, take that off, then I can either take it off or not. But I'm defaulting to it, and we'll see where it goes from there. But great conversation, everyone. Let's bring Michael Rampolla on. He's at the whiteboard. See, Katrina, this is kind of like a television show. Let's now go to Michael Rampolla at the whiteboard. Because it's time for the Idea Slam portion where we come up with some fun ideas. You said you had something to get us started with, Michael. What do you got?
One idea, I mean, we talked about signage and overt ways of telling people how to do business with you. Jennifer Rendell gave me the idea, how can we subtly cue our customers and clients? Here's how we interact now. She's talking about things that are not obvious, but are setting things up for the right kind of social distancing. What are some other ways we could cue our customers how to interact with us now without, you know, and making it, less overt and more kind? That's the idea that came to me, but I'm open to others.
The first thing that comes to mind for me is similar to how you would make it look for any holiday season. Some people have a goose that they dress up in a Halloween costume or a Packers jersey or something, and the goose has a mask on now, or a bear.
Okay.
Like you put a teddy bear in the front and put a mask on the teddy bear, or like, how do you already
costume the mascot
door around that way? But that's just the first thing that comes to mind, because I would never put something purposely in a Packers jersey, because that would be a crime. I'd put them in a Bears jersey, maybe. Now that would make some sense, but I would never. Okay. But yes, let's open the floor. If you have something to add, go ahead and jump in.
I can mute you.
Don't mute me. Darn it.
I think one of the things
We got Earl.
One of the things we talked about, you know, at our church, and I think Mary Irish can probably share this with too, is that we have a situation where we can't turn anybody away technically. That's our mission. You know, it's not like a business. So we framed it as a help us help you type situation. We're preparing signs now. We're not going to open until July 5th, but we're preparing signs saying, you know, that you have to do this, you have to do that, mask, social distancing. But we tried to frame it was with a request. Will you help us help you? I mean, I think you might have to do that with your customers too. Because again, let's face it, folks, somebody will die if we don't do it right, whether we like it or not.
So a request instead of a directive. So that's sometimes
correct.
It's just the phrasing. I like it.
Will you help me?
I like it. What else?
Abby, you said you have something to share. What do you got?
When I am setting up meetings with clients, I've just changed all the text to say, if you want to do this via Zoom, that is totally fine. Because I can do my sales appointments, I can do the pre-session consult, I can do all of that this way. So whatever they're comfortable with. And that way it's not like saying, this is what I think we should do. I'm letting my clients decide.
You know, here's an action step. Many of us are using Calendly or other calendar programs. Have we updated our calendar programs to have something addressing this issue inside the calendar program? When you select your day, time, and place, maybe it's time to have a timely update. I wouldn't go as far as an email signature, but it's something you could definitely consider.
And Pat, just to jump in here, on Calendly, you can put, it integrates with Zoom. So with ours, it automatically, when you choose a time, it just puts you on Zoom.
And then, so basically, and we did this too, we shifted all of our stuff to be Zoom first. So it's like this subtle thing that implies, right, we're going virtual first. If you want more, you would ask for it, but the virtual or social distance option leads. Calendar, scheduling, tool updates. Okay, cool. What else?
I'm just going to say, I think the conversation may be different for some of us who have employees who are customer facing than those of us who are kind of running our own shops or choosing whether we're taking meetings or things like that. So just out of curiosity, if there's anyone on the call who has insights from that, I just think it gives us a different, how do we help coach our employees to do things in a way that they feel comfortable and confident as well?
That shouldn't be crickets. That should be lots of ideas.
I don't have any employees now, but I did during the last time when we had SARS. And again, I framed it the same way. I met with them and said, look, I need for you to, clean your hands after each transaction, because we handle money, $60,000 a day. We said, need for you to, after each transaction, if you're sick, tell me, you can go home. But again, I framed it the same way. Help us help you. Again, I had the ability, by the way, to hire and fire. So I could send somebody home if I wanted to, because I worked for the city. So I had the unmitigated power, but I didn't use it. I said, hey, let's help us help you. Not to mention the fact, help your coworker, your friend not get sick. And I think that's the best way to handle it with employees. Again, frame it as a request, not as a directive. Because if you do it as a directive, then they're going to do like what's named husband and tell you no, or the man they got angry at the haircut shop.
Right. Well,
Looks like we got some new questions, so I don't want to take too much on this if there's other ideas. But
we've got a few other that we want to get to, but we do want to add a few quick things here. Mary's going to do a walkthrough for the congregation. Can you summarize that real quick, Mary, so we get it on video? What are you going to do for the congregation?
Well, communion begins this coming Sunday, so we have 8-foot X's rather than 6 because some will come as family groups. We're doing a walkthrough video to show them exactly how they would arrive, what to expect, who's going to be at the back door, who's going to be at the front door, how this is going to be staged. That'll give them an opportunity to decide whether they feel comfortable or not. Real service in live time is virtual all the time, and it will remain so as to probably mid to late June. But for those who want communion, it's time to kick that back in. And we just felt it was important to ask that very serious question that we kicked off months ago, Pat. What do you need to feel comfortable? And you guys helped me with that. And that's what we've been doing ever since. And we're kind of trying to put together all the things we've heard. And believe it or not, there has really not been any crazy suggestion. People are pretty ready to do it, but they want to be assured it's going to be safe.
So can I give,
go ahead.
Can I give Mary an idea too? That video that you've done is now newsworthy, right?
We haven't done it yet, so we'd like to hear what you'd say we should do.
Yeah, I would say get in contact with all the news stations and tell them that you'd like to share a clip of what you're providing to these families, because everybody is wondering exactly what to do. And you have taken ownership of this and you have made a video, and that is content that the local media needs. They need to show this is what one church is doing, and who knows, you may get new members.
Katrina, let me follow up on that real quick. With the ability that we have to shoot relatively high quality video off of a contemporary phone or a DSLR, if we film what it looks like and then send a press release with the video, that improves our chances to even get a slight read or at least get on their website, doesn't it, for a TV station?
For sure, not just for TV stations, but you got to think about all the newspapers, radio stations now, they all have their digital content, right? They all have their websites, and they need more content that motivates people to read what's going on their website. So if you've got pictures, video, anything like that would be terrific. Jennifer, when you were talking, Rundle, when you were talking about like the spacing out, how many of you guys saw the picture of the people in Germany at a restaurant, and they had made beanie hats with the pool noodles that were 6 feet apart? Yeah. Clever, right? Very clever. international news on that. So if you can think of things that are clever, would get people's eyeballs to look at the content, the media will absorb that.
That's great. That's great. Thank you for sharing. Any other comments on this before we move on? We have another question that we want to get through today. So last call on this particular topic, then we're going to ramble to a new one. Okay, hearing none, let's move on. Mark Bader, you said you had something you wanted to share. What's on your mind?
Yeah, well, it's a quick question, and I'm actually stopping in at Serendipity tomorrow. So I used to work from the Hudson. I used to put on quarterly networking events at the Hudson Business Lounge. I will be doing that in the future at Serendipity Labs. I'm stopping in tomorrow to talk to people. My membership starts there on June 1st. I'm just trying to get, feel, because I'm going to talk with them about this too. When do you think you folks on this call would be ready to go to an event that would have at least 200 to 250 people? Now, I grant it's going to be less than that, but in the past, that's what it was, 200 to 250 or 300. So I'm assuming I might only get 100. But when do you think you might be ready in terms of months? I'm curious. And when I say months, talking about June, July, August, September.
A lot of feedback inside the chat right now, Mark, for 2021 or after the vaccine. That's what a lot of folks are saying in the chat. And if anyone wants to weigh in with why or more information than just that, please feel free.
Okay.
So, I think one of the things the reason that a lot of those answers are coming out is the thing is not going away. It's still out there, right? Nothing is going to change. Well, we can't guarantee nothing's going to change, but presumably not much is going to change between now and July, August, September. The virus is still going to be around, and we're still going to have the need to be distanced from people and adhere to the guidelines that are coming out. There's nothing happening right now that makes today any different from 3 months from now. So when people say, it's going to be 2021 before I'm going to be comfortable being in a group like that, or it's going to be after the vaccine, that makes a lot of sense. If you look at things like concerts, sporting events, none of those things are coming back in that time frame. So I would not be going to an event like that in that time frame. I don't see how you could have a socially distanced networking event with 200 people or even really 100 people. There may be some creative things that people will come up with, and that will be awesome, but nothing changes between now and then. So I think that's why those answers are coming out that way.
Oh, and I have no problem. That's why I asked, because I wanted to get, a flavor or feel from a variety of people. And so that's kind of what I wanted to hear.
And there was interesting in the chat, somebody said, clarifying question, is that with or without PPE? Like that actually, in a lot of these cases, changes the answer, it sounds like.
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear that comment from you, Tanya, because you're working with billion-dollar companies that are gambling on how quickly they can get people back on a cruise ship or back on an airplane or get people in groups. What are the big companies, what are they planning for the fall and November, December, January?
Right. So all we've seen so far is countries and cruise lines further pushing out the dates every single week. More pushed out deadlines come out. So when the cruise lines first said, we're suspending operations back in March, they said, we're suspending it for 60 days. So we're suspending it to May. Then it was June. Now it's end of July. And you're seeing countries doing that too. We thought we were going to be able to open in June. Nope, now it's July 1st. And I wouldn't be surprised to see that change as well, because they're still working on that plan, right? They're still trying to think through, how can we have people on a cruise ship or at a hotel or at a pool bar, swim up bar, in a safe and socially distanced way? And we don't have answers to that yet. I did hear that Royal Caribbean submitted a plan to the CDC and for approval. We don't know what that looks like yet. You're starting to see things come out now from hotels and resorts where they're saying, You're going to have to wear a mask when you get here. We're going to take your temperature when you get here. We might take your temperature again at meal times. Iceland is saying you are going to have to submit to a COVID test upon arrival or be subject to a 14-day quarantine. Like, you know, there's a lot of stuff being floated out there. Like, this is what we might do, but not a lot definitive yet.
Can we just take a moment and just picture a nice swim up bar? Oh, man, that just sounds so good right now. Sheila, you said you had something you wanted to share about human behavior. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I observe human behavior a lot, and then I include that in my writing. I saw a very interesting thing the other day at Home Depot's garden center, which is all an outdoor setting. Most of the people there did not have a mask on, and the principle I'm bringing up is how humans react in theory and how humans react in practice. So there were many people there not wearing a mask, saying, I'm not concerned about it, I don't need a mask. But then a gentleman who was shopping sneezed twice, really loudly, and everybody scattered. So even those people who came in feeling no fear, not wearing a mask, I don't think about it, in that moment, their fear instinct kicked in and they scattered. They went outside the fence, they went into the store, they got out of that area. So similarly, my point here is all of your customers may have that phase too. They may also experience the evolution of their response. They may come into your store not wearing a mask, then they get in there and they have second thoughts. So you'd probably want to have a supply of masks available. Then you've got those who come in fearful. They've got the masks, the gloves, they're prepped like for the OR.
Yeah.
And they get in there and they're pretty relaxed. So I think we have to allow humans, and that includes every customer you've ever had. I think we all have to allow for the evolution of human response in this. And most people have not found their exact latitude and longitude yet. And then it's changing every week as new data comes out. So I would just say it's great to plan, but let's remember we're talking about human beings and human behavior and allow for latitude.
That's a brilliant comment, Sheila. Thank you so much. We're going to leave this conversation part right there. Thank you very much for weighing in. That was a great way to end it. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to have another opportunity later in the week where we're going to fire up the brainstorming and problem solving section inside the Idea Slam, but that will be inside the new Image Collective or Idea Collective community that has now gone live. We got to our founding 50 members last week. And if you're looking for a place to network and interact and learn from and collaborate with small business owners, just like this call, many of the folks on this call are part of the founding 50. You can join this group of small business owners and get the support and engagement on conversations and topics just like this 24/7 from an app right on your smartphone and a website. So that is opening June 1. And we had a great idea today with Cheryl. Cheryl, I thought this was brilliant. So I thought that I was going to do the weekly office hours and do some ideas and brainstorming for people. And then you had a great idea and you put it in the community. Can you share what it is? Because I think it's great.
I can. When on the Founders 50 call on Thursday, gosh, that felt like years ago.
Yeah, it does.
You said that you were doing your office hours. And I was like, wouldn't it be really cool if we, the Founder 50s, could also do an office session with just, ask the experts kind of thing. And not to sell, and not just to give, hey, you have a question about insurance or whatever, I'll answer it for you. Or, Jennifer is like rocking, all the Microsoft training and she's been helping me endlessly with like Teams. Why can't, she give 20, 30 minutes for whatever. Just bring our expertise to the table and learn from each other.
I think it's a great idea. And it's the type of thing that if we put up in the group, what I don't know, and if anyone's tested it, I'm curious, inside the Idea Collective, can a member make an event? I know I can make events. I think the moderators can make events too, but can members make events?
Susie said she could not.
Okay. Well, if Susie can't, then nobody can, because she's learning the software backwards and forwards. So maybe we have to connect with one another. So like if Sue wants to hold, and I don't think like Sue's a great example. Sue's the LinkedIn lady. If one time a month Sue was going to have LinkedIn Q&A, she could just create an event saying, hey, I'm doing a Q&A on LinkedIn on this day at this time, whatever is available for her. We put it up as an event, and then people can RSVP to go learn from Sue. I think that would be brilliant. And like Mark Shannon, and you mentioned you wanted to do something about insurance. Maybe we don't have to do it every single week. Maybe it's once a month. It's our time to talk insurance or time to talk money or whatever it might be. That's really interesting. So let's continue this.
We're working on a process for that, Pat.
Listen to you. Are you petting the technology again, Jennifer? Excellent. I love it. All right. So the moderators are on it behind the scenes. That's incredible. So the folks that are in the group, think about it, because the more folks that we get in the group sharing with one another, the more powerful the group becomes. And if you're not in on the Idea Collective, it's not too late. Hit us up after this call, or if Jennifer's got the link, it is ideacollective.patmillerideacoach.com, and you can learn more about the Idea Collective, the brand new group for helping small business owners excel. We also have a few other surprises in store that I really can't divulge at the moment. We've also got, there it is, we've also got a commitment to go international. The managing director for Australia, Bron Watson, has committed to join, which is kind of cool because she's a social media expert and she's in Australia, which is awesome, road trip. She says that she's going to join, so we're keeping our fingers crossed on that. So that's that. Last thing I have to share that I think is pretty darn cool. One other piece of content that I create every week is called the Lift As We Climb podcast. So it's a podcast that I do for the eWomen Network. Just today, I got confirmation that Sandra Yancey is going to do a one-on-one with me about the conference, which I'm super excited about. So eWomen Conference was supposed to be in July. That's been moved to October, and I'm going to do a one-on-one with her on Friday at 2. So I think I'm going to be able to get this out next week so we can hear from Sandra directly about what it took to make the conference happen and how it's going to work. So fingers crossed hopefully that's going to be good. So we'll get you more information on that when we can. So that's it for today's call. I try and keep it right at 1 hour. Next Monday at 3 o'clock, the Small Business Rally Point will be back on the air, and everyone that's come on the call today is absolutely welcome. And please bring back your friends, as well as letting me know what else you'd like to talk about. We went out and got Katrina to come on the show by request, and she was amazing. So a big thank you to Katrina Cravy from Charisma Q for being our guest today. And if there's something you'd like to examine during the Small Business Rally Point, we will pull all of our strings and try and get them or that topic on the air. Of course, thank you to our partners, the Brookfield Chamber of Commerce, Third Eye Local, Serendipity Labs, can't wait to get back there, and the Brand Crafted Social Club, and the Idea Collective. You guys are great. Of course, a big thanks to Jennifer Buchholz, the executive producer of the call. And don't miss next week's Rally Point. Make sure you get on the distribution list. Text the word BIZ to 414-240-1315. That's it for today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week.
Pat,
yes?
One quick thing. Next week's call is back to Mondays again, correct?
Monday at 3 o'clock, and we'll stay on Mondays if there's not a holiday conflict. Thank you for clarifying. And that's it. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a great week.
Thanks, Pat.
Bye-bye.